Welcome to Triggers and Spiritual Medicine, a community built and grassroots based podcast that addresses the root issues and triggers at the intersection of our health, systems of oppression, and cultural conditioning. Together, we explore what truly is ailing us as human beings in today's world. This space is non commercialized, no advertising dollars are involved because our mission is clear to dive deep into the heart of our collective struggles and discover the spiritual medicine that can heal us personally, within our families, our communities, and the collective. Each month, we sit down with extraordinary guests who have shared their wisdom and offer at least 3 actionable steps to help you on your journey. This is more than just a conversation, it's a call to action, a chance to tap into the healing tools we all need to move forward as a species. We explore root systems and causes through stories of healing and recovery from addiction, cancer, chronic illness, domestic abuse, and more. We learn from wisdom keepers and lineage holders of sacred traditions, unraveling the mysteries that have survived for millennia and examining why, in Western societies, we are sicker than ever before. You'll hear stories from people who have used spiritual medicine in their healing journey, whether through meditation, Reiki, expressive arts, yoga, plants, or by unpacking religious indoctrination, persecution, or decolonizing mental constructs. If you believe in our mission, please subscribe and support our podcast by commenting, engaging, and sharing it with others. You can also become a Patreon member to help support our domestic violence community and sacred activist work. Memberships start for free, or you can join for just $5 a month to gain insider information, exclusive content, and more. Whether you're a healer, a seeker, or simply curious, you're just in the right place. So let's journey together. Hi, everybody. It's Laura with Triggers in Spiritual Medicine and founder of Healing with Spirit. I am your host, Laura Bonetzky-Joseph. I am a multi-generational healer, intuitive, advocate, artist, spiritual guide, author of 2 books, Secret Activist and Crone Witch. And before we go into our next episode of Triggers in Spiritual Medicine, I first have an announcement. On summer solstice, June 21st, I married my longtime partner of 9.5 years. So you might see a name change moving forward to Laura Bonetzky-Gaffney, bridging both lineages into one strong bond. I just wanted to put that out there just in case you might get confused if you see different names or different last names and you were just curious, especially since my books will still have Laura Bonetzky-Joseph until I could probably do, different edition with the new last name. So anyway, now back to your regularly scheduled program. No kidding. Seriously, folks, these energies are some kind of shift show. Have they not? I am just curious because this July, we are going to be stepping into some serious fire, literally and energetically. We are, as I've stated on multiple past episodes, in the year of discernment, and July is basically here to test what we've learned, how far we've grown, all that good stuff. And because there is so much happening in our world today, politically, personally, generationally, cosmically, all these things, I decided to do July's episode in 2 parts. So today is part 1 of 2 of our July series, where we'll be exploring the energetic forecast for this month and how it intersects collectively with illusions around freedom, and why maybe discernment is not only spiritual medicine, but it is soul protection. So before I go into that, and I know things are quite heavy for so many of us out there right now, I would like us to take a stop and take a deep breath. I usually like the count of 4, 8, 7, as it works really well to reboot our vagus nerve and our nervous system. So let's begin by grounding. If you're not driving, place your hand on your chest and or your belly, your womb, your prostate, depending on which anatomy you have. And we're going to inhale and exhale on a count of 4, 8, 7. So let's start. Breathing in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And one more time, breathing in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling out for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now just let yourself land, allow your breathing, just take notice of your breath. If it has been shallow, if you had some challenges with that, just take note of that and nothing more. No judgment, no analysis, just be aware. So before we go into July, I would really like to talk about the June shift storms and talk about some heavy shit. I mean, seriously, I just got to say, I just came back. I left in May and I came back on the third week or second week in mid June. So I was away for 3 weeks in Ireland, leading a 6-month journey, doing some deep stuff there. We spent 10 days actually of that in Ireland on a pilgrimage. And then I came back 8 days later and got married. But I'll tell you, hitting the shores of the US was no joke. It was no joke. And I'm curious to know who else is feeling this. So please chime in the comments, please engage, because I don't know how much of what I say is landing with you or not unless you chime in the comments. So it's really, 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 really helpful. So while in Ireland, we worked with some really badass archetypes. We worked with the Irish pirate, Grace O'Malley, and the sovereignty goddess, Queen Maeve, as well as invoking the call to our healed and whole ancestors of blood and bone. We did this over a period of 4 or 5 months before going to Ireland. And this was to help us foster relationships and foster the solidity of the container, because the container needs to be solid for doing this kind of work, and to help us to face hard truths, heal ancestral lineages, reclaim aspects lost, forgotten, or stolen from us or our ancestors. And here's one of the things that happened that I feel the need to share, because it really even impacted the participants really strongly. Over, say, roughly a 24-hour period of time spread over 2 days, we were in the sacred foothills, of the sacred, of folklore and fairies and stories of queens and goddesses and a lot of sacred powers and things that are really rooted in a ceremonial and ritual place. And some of these places go back 6,000 years and predate the Egyptian pyramids. And some of these pockets that we ventured into even predate some of the oldest places in Ireland and all of Europe. So we went there, places of our ancestors. And here's what happened. We saw multiple dead animals, multiple, like sheep, crows, magpies, deer, you name it. Plus, we saw multiple skulls and jawbones. And we were mostly shocked at the quantity. Do we sometimes see, like, a dead bird on the road and things like that? Yeah, that happens, right? But to see at least, I would say, 6 to 9 dead animals plus skulls in a period of 24 hours, I would say, what the F is going on here? This is like serious shit. So the human self, the one that isn't connected to the land or isn't in proper relationship with the spirit world, would probably be completely grossed out and triggered into the ew kind of stuff, right? and being like, oh my God, like, is this is like Armageddon? Like, I can go down those rabbit holes. Or we also could have been the soul and the evolved human that is really connected to the journey and this sacred work. And we saw it as a message from the spirits of the land. Okay. And at the time, we didn't quite know what it was. So, this is where sitting with it, sitting in deep listening, sitting in deep reverence, sitting in ceremony. The whole 10 days was pretty much a walking ceremony with a ceremony in the beginning and a closing ceremony in the end. And this is when we learned that when we saw this in this 24-hour period of time, it was the same time that our current president and leader of the United States enlisted the use of the National Guard and the Marines on US citizens in LA. Now, in the spirit world, we say there's no coincidences, there's no escaping, spirit has no bounds. If we're called to do sacred work, it's not always pretty. People like to look at the fluff and nutter stuff and be like, oh, that's all spiritual. No, it's not. Spirit is about being in proper relationship and being a steward and working with what is in the best interest of the whole. So if we are called to the sacred, the spirits will give us sometimes homework. Sometimes it's a deep remembering. In this case, it was a deep remembering of liberations and the survival of our whole and healed ancestors, those that are blood and bone, those who knew how to survive and knew how to thrive, that liberated themselves, maybe liberated communities and all those things, because that's why we're here, right? We're alive today because of that. Maybe it's a deep remembering of how Grace O'Malley was able to do what she did and triumph in land and sea in ways that garnered actually the respect and reverence from Queen Elizabeth of England, and saw Grace O'Malley as being more free than the Queen herself saw. And never even ordered her execution, but really garnered the respect. And that also goes to diplomacy, because the two women were able to use diplomacy in some regards. Some history might challenge that. But in the greater scheme of things, I would like to lean towards diplomacy. We also understood how the work that we were doing in healing ourselves, healing our family lines, healing our ancestral lines, doing reclamation work, learning how to partner and being proper in relationship with the spirits of the land, the spirits that are also embedded in the land, and how we're doing all that work in Ireland plays a more crucial role in the collective, in all who we touch or come across, and the medicine that we can offer, as well as the ripples effect. I think this happened, the realization that what we were doing there was actually a lot bigger than we really realized. Thinking it was just about us, thinking it was just about maybe, learning about our ancestors, learning what they went through, and really enjoying the landscape and all that stuff. It was a lot bigger than that, a lot bigger than that. And it really took us to a whole other level of personal responsibility as stewards of the sacred. And, I can't really say more than that because I'm still literally only back like 2 weeks and I'm still integrating. We haven't completed the final integration piece yet. So there's a lot here to digest, but I wanted to share that because I feel like, because I know some people in the group were really taken back and they're like, I came to Ireland to avoid this and blah, 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 blah. And what happened is that spirit says you can't avoid this. Okay. So it speaks to the energies now moving into the energetic pulse of July. July is a very fiery, hot month, summer heat. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, solar flares, activation energy. This past solar eclipse, the summer solstice was also a huge gateway. So this is not a time. The story I just gave you, what happened to us in June, basically amplifies that if we think we can run away from what's happening, we can self-medicate our way from what's happening. We can scroll through social media and pretend nothing's happening. We can, do whatever.
to try to avoid what's happening. Barricade yourself in the house and pretend it's not going to happen. And it doesn't work because it will affect you. It'll affect you either on whether or not you even have a house, whether or not you're able to have access to healthcare, whether or not your neighbor gets kidnapped and then dies in detention, as what happened recently to a man who has been here for over 65 years who died in detention. So what's happening abroad, and that it can happen here. I mean, we already know what happens here. If we know and understand history, it happens. So this is the crucial moment of July's energies. And what happened recently in Gaza was that the Israeli government only allowed certain people to bring in aid. Okay, they refused to allow this really vetted nonprofits to bring in aid. And now we know why. It's because they laced the flower of starving people with drugs, with opiates, for whatever reason, we can only project, but the ramifications of doing that on starving people, mixing it with the flour, can basically kill a lot of people. So this is where we're at. And this is why many of us are maybe feeling this, like we're trying to hold back. We don't know what to do, all these things. So the flames are literally rising. This is like, hey, hello, there's a big fire coming right at your house. Are you just going to sit there and put your head in the sand and say, it'll go by, it'll go by, it'll go by. I'll pretend it doesn't exist. Like the fire is at your doorsteps. We cannot ignore the fire anymore. And we have a chance right now to either fan the flames or cool the flames. Okay. And the flames are literally rising, like literally, metaphorically. You might be feeling a lot. You might be feeling very exhausted. Okay. You might be feeling like stuck. I know for me, I wanted to sleep a whole week when I came back, and it wasn't jet lag. The emotional flare ups, the freeze response, maybe old trauma surfacing. Maybe it's not even your stuff. Maybe it's your grandparent stuff. Maybe it's the energies that of all the traumas that's been left behind, especially like if you're in the states where the birth of this country happened, where also the genocide of Native Americans happened. If you're in those pockets, you might be feeling that surfacing too. Okay. Or maybe on the other end, because you've been doing the work, maybe you're feeling the deep craving of truth, of realness, of justice, of how do I align? What do I have to do to align with our great mother, with the spirits of the earth, the sun, the moon, the universe, right? And how do I align so I can be a part of what is meant to be, not what I have been conditioned to do, like go to work like a slave, pay bills, pay a house, so you get all these other people get richer, richer, richer. You have no connection to the land, no connection to the medicinal plants around you. We spend billions of dollars eradicating that. And so this is what needs to be challenged. This is the month. What are you doing in simple acts of, I don't know what to do, Laura. Well, are you putting pesticides in your yard? Are you putting, herbicides in your yard so you can have that perfect green grass? Then stop that. Like learn to understand that plants will show up. It's very fascinating when you allow certain plants to show up in your yard, and the medicine that they're offering you, they're communicating with you, whether you realize it or not. The earth is communicating with us. The spirits of the land, the air, the water, they're all communicating with us. It's just a matter of whether or not we're listening. And here, the fire isn't here to burn us. It will only burn us if we stick our head in the sand and we pretend it's gonna pass us by. It's here to burn away what isn't yours to begin with. We are also integrating, again, that solstice portal, and many of us are standing in this liminal space between who we were and who we are becoming. And holy cow, did being in Ireland doing this work when we did, the liminal space was was like, I can't explain it. Like I'm still integrating. It was off the charts. It was off the charts. And for those who are interested, by the way, reach out because we will be planning, and they're small, intimate groups, maximum 4 per group for 2026. We're going to start probably around Beltane, and next year we're going to be going for the fall equinox and into Samhain, with the focus again with Grace O'Malley, Queen Maeve, but also the Morrigan energies, the Kaliak energies, all that kind of accessing that wise woman, the grandmother energy, and all that has been lost. Okay. So here is what discernment is showing up as a spiritual practice. In the energies that we are in for the month of July, discernment is not an option. This is basically shit or get off the pot. Okay. It is essential to know and discern what is real and what is not, what takes action, what takes holding back. Not everything sounds spiritual is medicine. Not everyone offering light is rooted in integrity. All you got to do is scroll Instagram and see, how many cosplay or TikTok spiritual people they are. But how are they actually sitting and rooted? Not just lighting a candle and here you can do this little thing. No, are you actually doing the medicine as a sacred steward? And every indigenous culture, regardless of what that is, preaches this aspect. Okay. Discernment invites us to pause and ask, is this aligned with being a steward of the earth? Is this aligned with my truth? And what does that truth look like? Is my truth really the truth? Or is my truth distorted based on colonial, patriarchal conditioning and church indoctrination? So that's some of the things we have to work through. Am I doing this out of obligation or love? What is mine to carry and what is not? So here's a quick practice that I work with my clients quite often, and it's kind of knowing your yes and knowing your no. Right? So here's what I say: put your hands on your body, preferably like your heart and maybe your belly, and just ask your body, what does yes feel like in my body? Now, for some of us, that might be like an intuitive yes or no, like a whisper. For others, it might be a sensation, or it might be like you have a feel or a tug to go into a certain direction. It's different for everybody. So, what does yes feel like in my body? And now sit with that for a while until you get to learn what that feels like. And then also ask your body, what does no feel like? Because here's the thing, your body is really like the speaker to your soul. It has a greater wisdom than your head. And we have been conditioned to do everything here. When we can align here with here and let the body speak from a place of soul wisdom and spirit wisdom and alignment, we will never make a wrong decision again. Okay. So again, July for the United States, we celebrate, by the time this podcast episode comes out, we would have already celebrated Independence Day, or maybe not, depending on where you are. But July brings things like fireworks, independence, all that rhetoric. Here, I'm going to dress up like the flag. I'm patriotic, performance, patriotism. But let's be honest. We have had in the last 6 months more freedoms eroded in the United States. The right to fair due process, the right to bodily autonomy, the right for freedom, liberty, and justice. And I can make a whole list of others, but many are not free unless basically you fit the mold of a white, cis, straight, abled, white, Christian male. Everybody else can be a target. Everybody else is having constitutional rights being eroded and challenged. And I'm not going to go into all those things that are happening. You can go to all these other places to go look at what's happening, but it's just one after another, after another, after another. And many of us are still stuck in the, I got to rest, I don't want to know, or I'm still in the shock mode. And July is going to hit us upside the head saying, that time has expired because the fire is at your doorstep. The fire is at your doorstep, and you're either going to let your house burn down with everybody in it, or you're going to do something about it. That is where we're at, especially if you are a woman, if you are a survivor of some form of oppression or domestic violence or sexual assault, or queer folks, or anybody who is in those marginalized communities. True freedom isn't about, hey, I'm going to wave my flag. It's about soul reclamation. It's about sovereignty. If we've learned nothing more than from the sovereignty goddesses in Ireland, they've been demonized for a reason, because the patriarchy didn't like them, because they all acted out when they were sexually assaulted. And I don't endorse their methods and what they did, but they were downplayed. The reason why we know about Bridget, St. Bridget in the United States, is because she was canonized. But many don't know about Queen Maeve or Grace O'Malley or the Morrigan or any of the other powerful sovereignty goddesses who became sovereign after they were sexually assaulted. And then they were shushed. Their history was shushed. Their memories were shushed by the patriarchy. Okay, so true freedom, it's about saying, I am no longer available for cycles of abuse. I choose sovereignty, safety, and sacredness. And I live this. Because as some of you know, if you've been following me for a while, I left my abusive marriage in 2005, but only became legally free in October 2024 after dealing with family court sanctioned abuse for over 18 years. Okay, it was a long, painful journey, but I reclaimed my freedom, not just from paperwork, but from within. And now I'm reclaiming the ancestral piece, because my children, my grandchildren, and those descendants after that deserve better. And this is what we're here to say. As we move through this month, ask yourself, where am I outsourcing my truth? What fire am I resisting that actually is trying to liberate me? And join me for part 2, where we will go deeper into the healer's dilemma, the caregiver's burnout, and what happens when caregiving depletes your spirit, and how to reclaim your own medicine. So until then, I'm going to leave you with some spiritual medicine. I'm going to recite it in Japanese. And I have a whole book that talks about this called The Secrets to Healing. It's an invitation to healing chronic illness and root causes to trauma and other aspects. So, and here we go. Taking a deep breath, putting our hands in prayer position near the heart. Kyo daki wa ikaru na shimpai suna kanchaste kyo hagame itoni shinsatsu ni. May we honor our ancestors, our parents, our teachers, our lineage holders, the ones that have held the path, that have held the sacred through it all. May we lift those voices up high. May we earn our living earnestly, and may we show gratitude and be in harmony and balance with all life, all genres, all genders. And so it is. And until next time, on the next episode of Triggers and Spiritual Medicine, I will see you then. Oh, and I forgot to share. I stuck it out. This is the card for the month, by the way, which kind of amplifies it. The Hierophant. The Hierophant is all about the transition. It's all about change. It's about being more spiritually aligned. And it's not in the new age woo-woo, go take a class, go do this. It's about really going into deep reclamation in our own ancestral energies, our own ancestral paths, and learning and healing generations of trauma that have been stuck in our bloodlines for over 1,000 years, and remembering and healing that and doing that kind of work. So until then, have a good day, and be sure to subscribe, like, share, and please chime in the comments and let me know if any of this resonating for you. And I look forward to part 2. Have a good day.
Thank you for tuning in to Triggers in Spiritual Medicine. We hope today's episode provided insights and action steps to support you on your personal journey. Remember, healing is a continuous process, and by addressing what triggers us, we create space for deeper transformation. If you would like to dive deeper into our community and support our sacred activist work, join us on Patreon, where you'll find more resources and insider content to empower your healing path. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. And please share, like, and engage with us to help boost our algorithm status. Since this is a community-driven podcast, your support truly makes a difference in helping us reach more souls who can benefit from this journey. Stay connected, stay mindful, and keep doing the inner work. Together, we are building a community that uplifts and heals. And until next time, stay grounded and take care of your soul.